Welcome, Grade 12 SYISE scholars, to this elite masterclass explainer. Today, we're undertaking a rigorous conceptual disambiguation of two absolutely foundational concepts in macroeconomic theory: domestic product and national product. Now, this isn't merely an exercise in memorizing textbook definitions. Oh no, this is about understanding the fundamental architectural boundaries of an entire economy. We'll be utilizing precise economic terminology right from the IIC syllabus to really unpack these aggregates, dissecting exactly how wealth is measured and categorized on a sovereign scale.
To ensure we tackle this with a highly structured, first principles approach, let's quickly review our syllabus for today's session. First up, axiomatic definitions. Second, the dialectic comparison. Third, the friction of globalization. And finally, we'll wrap up with the macroeconomic reconciliation. We're going to construct our understanding step by step here, treating each macroeconomic concept as a necessary building block for the next.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Axiomatic Definitions, establishing the baselines. We absolutely must define exactly what we are measuring before we can properly analyze it.
We begin with domestic product, which you'll frequently see referred to in academic literature as domestic income. I want you to notice the precise phrasing here. It's defined as the value of all final goods and services produced by all enterprises located within the domestic territory of a country during a given year. The critical imperative here? Geography. Domestic product is strictly a geographical circumscription. It meticulously tracks output based purely on where the production physically occurs, totally regardless of the producer's citizenship or nationality. So, if a manufacturing plant operates on your sovereign soil, its final output contributes entirely to your domestic product. Period.
But now, notice how this next concept pivots our perspective completely. National product refers to the amount of final goods and services produced by the normal residents of a country during a year. This is profoundly different. It's a resident-centric orientation. Rather than geography, it tracks the economic output of a nation's people, its nationals or citizens, irrespective of their physical location. A resident could be operating an enterprise strictly within the domestic borders, or, they could be operating halfway across the globe. Either way, their productive output is mathematically captured right here.
Moving smoothly into Section 2, the dialectic comparison, geography versus residence. Because having a firm grasp of macroeconomics requires explicitly mapping the divergences between these two distinct concepts. This really illustrates the core dissonance we're dealing with: geography versus residence. The concept of domestic product essentially demands a map. It asks a singular, straightforward question: did this economic activity physically occur within our established sovereign borders? On the flip side, the concept of national product demands a residency test. It asks, was this economic activity generated by our normal residents? You can readily deduce that if we existed in a completely closed economy, one with absolutely zero cross-border trade, capital movement, or labor migration, well, these two concepts would be perfectly identical. But as economists, we have to model reality, not a theoretical vacuum. Which brings us to Section 3, the friction of globalization, cross-border flows. This introduces a highly complex variable that disrupts our neat theoretical definitions. In our modern economic reality, capital, labor, and enterprise are constantly traversing these boundaries. So I want to pose this Socratic question to you scholars. How exactly do we reconcile factor income traversing these theoretical boundaries? Take a second and let the academic weight of that problem cognitively digest. If geography and residence are constantly overlapping, how do we prevent double counting? How do we ensure no economic value is lost in the overarching macroeconomic ledger?
The source text eliminates this cross-border friction perfectly using a real-world paradigm. Consider the domestic product of India. It represents the value of output produced by all enterprises located within Indian territory, right? However, a significant portion of this domestic product might actually accrue to foreigners, simply because it's produced by enterprises owned by foreign entities. For example, if an Indian company is working jointly with a foreign company inside India, that joint venture generates domestic product for India, absolutely, but it simultaneously creates an outflow of factor income back to those foreign owners. Conversely, normal residents of India frequently render factor services to the rest of the world, which generates an inflow of income that isn't captured in the strictly geographical domestic product. So you can see, this creates a very tangible theoretical dissonance.
Let's resolve this in Section 4, the macroeconomic reconciliation, bridging the gap. To bridge this structural gap between geographical boundaries and resident-centric tracking, we're going to need a highly specific macroeconomic instrument.
And that indispensable instrument is net factor income from abroad, commonly abbreviated as NFIA. By strict definition, NFIA is the exact difference between the factor income received by normal residents of a country from the rest of the world for rendering factor services and the factor income paid to foreigners operating within the domestic territory. Essentially, it meticulously accounts for the inflow of wealth from your residents operating internationally and then structurally subtracts the outflow of wealth to foreign enterprises operating domestically. It's the definitive quantitative bridge between our two foundational boundaries. Let's methodically prove this theorem together, treating our syllabus concepts as strict mathematical axioms to show how a pending NFIA yields the final aggregate. Step 1. We begin with our baseline, the domestic product, which measures our pure geographical output. Step 2. We augment this by adding the factor income successfully received by our normal residents from abroad. Step 3. We must deduct the factor income paid to the rest of the world, those farm enterprises extracting value from within our borders. By executing these precise macroeconomic adjustments, Step 4 logically emerges. We finally arrive at the national product, our resident-centric output.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this macroeconomic reconciliation equation. National product equals domestic product plus net factor income from abroad. Through this elegant formula, the geographical character of domestic output is seamlessly transformed into the resident-centric character of national output. And it's vital to note here that this NFIA variable can mathematically be positive or negative. If your residents bring in more factor income from abroad than foreign entities extract from your domestic territory, well, your NFIA is positive, and therefore your national product will mathematically exceed your domestic product. To conclude this elite explainer, I want to leave you with a final, provocative, academic challenge to really test your conceptual application. Think about this. If a nation's net factor income from abroad is profoundly negative, meaning vast, disproportionate amounts of wealth are flowing out of the domestic territory to foreign entities, which product aggregate, domestic product, or national product better reflects the true economic standard of living for that country's citizens? Analyze the boundaries, rigorously apply the axioms we discussed today, and always keep questioning the underlying data. Thank you for joining me for this masterclass session. Keep studying hard, scholars.